You think buying a quiet lakeside lot in suburban America is the ultimate fresh start? Try waking up to the neighborhood HOA queen and half the block at your fence, screaming that you're stealing public water while 2 cop cars flash behind her like it's a raid. What Karen Ellison didn't realize that morning was simple. I'd just bought the exact shoreline she'd been ruling like her personal kingdom for 20 years, and I had the century-old deed to prove it. The move to Willow Creek Estates was supposed to be my reset button. After I blew the whistle on my old chemical company for dumping toxins into a river, they painted me as the unstable troublemaker. Rumors flew: difficult, paranoid, not a team player. Jobs dried up. I kept my head down, saved every penny, and found this oddly cheap waterfront parcel that wasn't even listed in the HOA plat. The realtor had shrugged. Previous owner let the association use the access for years. They treat it like theirs. I smiled, signed, and thought, finally, peace. That first afternoon I was unloading boxes when the black SUV rolled up like it owned the gravel. Out stepped Karen Ellison, cream cardigan, perfect blonde bob, clipboard in one hand like a royal scepter. 2 smiling minions trailed her. The lake sparkled behind them. All peaceful cattails and gentle ripples. The kind of view people pay millions for. "Good morning," she sang, all teeth and neighborly warmth. "I'm Karen Ellison, president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. We like to welcome new folks personally." I wiped my hands on my jeans. "Ryan Brooks. Appreciate it. But I'm not actually in the HOA. Separate deed." She laughed like I'd told the cutest joke. "Oh, honey. Everyone around the lake is part of our little family. We handle shoreline maintenance, water quality, safety. It's a cooperative effort. There's a modest annual assessment, just $650 this year, and a few simple guidelines about aesthetics and shared use." I kept my tone even. "I own the shoreline outright. Riparian rights included. Your plat map stops at the tree line." Her smile tightened, but only for a split second. The minions shifted. "That can't be right," she said brightly. "The lake has been a shared community resource for decades. We've invested thousands keeping it beautiful. Surely you understand we all have to work together." "Public use doesn't create ownership," I replied quietly. "No easement on my deed." Karen stepped closer, perfume thick in the air. "Mr. Brooks, we value harmony here. People who rock the boat tend to find the water gets uncomfortable. Fences, modifications, even that little dock you're planning, those require HOA approval under our environmental bylaws." "I've read them," I said. "They only apply inside your subdivision. This parcel isn't listed." Her eyes flickered, recognition, not surprise. She knew. She'd been running this lake like a toll booth for years. "You really should reconsider that attitude," she said, voice dropping the sugar. "This community has standards. Refuse to participate and, well, isolation can be very lonely." I just nodded. "I prefer quiet." She spun on her heel, signaling her crew. As the SUV pulled away, one minion glanced back with something like pity. I stood there watching the dust settle over the water and knew this wasn't over. Karen Ellison didn't strike me as the type who surrendered anything she thought belonged to her, especially power. The next few days I kept my head down and my eyes open. I walked the property line with an old survey map, probing the soft earth near the North Cove. That's when I found it, a weathered concrete marker half buried in mud. Faded blue paint spelling out state boundary, 1974. I cleaned it off, took photos, Then spent the night digging through county records online. Turns out this stretch had once been part of a larger wildlife management area. The state had sold the parcel decades ago. But the boundary markers were never formally retired, and the original deed carried ironclad riparian rights granting the owner exclusive control over the adjoining waters. I sat back. Coffee going cold. Karen's community lake was built on my land. Every dock. Every irrigation pipe feeding her friends' fancy homes. Every maintenance fee she'd collected, all of it rested on paperwork she'd conveniently ignored. I didn't run to the neighborhood chat. I didn't post angry rants. I just watched. And documented. That's when the fun really started. First came the courtesy notices in my mailbox. $250 fine for unauthorized fencing even though I hadn't installed any yet. Then another for visual disruption because my neutral bird feeder allegedly clashed with the collective aesthetic harmony. The group chat lit up with concerned neighbors, all Karen's allies, worrying that the new guy wanted to privatize paradise. Someone started a rumor I'd been fired for instability. Funny how those old smears followed me. One evening Karen herself showed up again. This time with 3 board members and a fake smile that could curdle milk. Ryan. Sweetheart, she cooed from the edge of my property. We're all so worried about you. Isolating yourself like this isn't healthy. The lake belongs to everyone. Why don't you just remove those survey stakes and join the family? We'll even waive your first-year fees as a gesture of goodwill. I lean on my post. The stakes mark my legal boundary. And the lake doesn't belong to everyone, it belongs to the deed holder. Which is me. Her mask slipped. You think a piece of old paper gives you the right to ruin things for 40 families? We've maintained the shoreline for 20 years. We treat the water. We clean the trash. We make it safe. Using my land and my water without permission, I said calmly. That's not maintenance. That's trespass. One of her minions gasped theatrically. Karen's face flushed crimson. This is exactly the kind of selfish attitude that destroys communities. We have bylaws for a reason. I smiled for the first time. I've read every one of them. Funny how they never mention stealing private property. She left in a huff. But the harassment escalated. Late-night calls from block numbers. Someone accidentally dumped yard waste on my side. The neighborhood page filled with posts about preserving our shared heritage while subtly calling me the villain. Karen even tried to get the county to side with her. Claiming historical use created an easement. I stayed silent on the surface. Inside, I was building a fortress of paper. I tracked down former board members who'd been quietly pushed out. Iris, the ex-treasurer, met me at a diner 2 towns over and slid over bank statements showing how Karen funneled maintenance contracts to her cousin's company, over $120,000 in questionable payments. David, the old secretary, handed me thumb drives of emails where Karen rewrote bylaws to give herself unchecked spending power. Margaret, the previous president, showed me the original documents before Karen's updates. Each conversation ended the same way: she's been doing this for years. Everyone's terrified of her. I listened. Collected. And waited. The breaking point came at the emergency HOA meeting. The community center was packed, folding chairs filled. People standing along the walls. Karen stood at the front in her power suit. Projector ready. Smile dialed to maximum condescension. Neighbors, she began. Voice honeyed. We face a serious threat. The new owner of the north parcel is attempting to fence off our beloved lake. He's spreading dangerous lies about ownership and ignoring our shared values. But we won't be intimidated. This community stands united. Murmurs of agreement rippled. A few people glared at me in the back row. I walked forward slowly. binder in hand. The room quieted. "I don't want to take anything from anyone," I said evenly. "I just want what's legally mine. And I have proof." I plugged in my laptop. The first slide hit the screen, the 1974 boundary marker. Cleaned and dated. Then the original deed with its riparian rights clause highlighted. Then drone footage showing every illegal dock and pipe crossing onto my property. Finally, the financial records, payments. Shell companies. The works. Gasps filled the room. Karen's face went from confident to furious to something closer to panic. "These are fabrications," she snapped. "Disgruntled ex-members feeding lies. This is defamation." I clicked to the next slide, an official letter from the State Environmental Division confirming an active investigation into unauthorized construction on protected shoreline and potential embezzlement of HOA funds. "The markers were never retired," I said. "Your docks. Your pipes. Your community improvements, all built without permits on private land. And the money trail leads straight to you. Karen." The room erupted. People who'd nodded along minutes earlier now stared at her. Someone yelled, "Is that why our fees keep going up while nothing gets fixed?" Karen gripped the podium. Knuckles white. "You have no right. This is my community. I've given 20 years. The doors at the back opened. 2 agents in plain clothes walked in. Badges visible. The taller one spoke clearly over the chaos. "Karen Ellison, we need you to step outside. Federal and state investigators have questions about water rights violations, financial misconduct, and witness intimidation." Her perfect mask shattered completely. Face pale. Eyes wild. She looked suddenly small in that big room. "This is ridiculous. You can't, I'm the president." But the agents were already guiding her toward the door while phones recorded everything. The woman who'd spent 2 decades controlling every blade of grass and every drop of lake water was marched out in front of the very neighbors she'd bullied into silence. For the first time in years, the room felt like it could breathe. The aftermath moved fast. The investigation uncovered more than anyone expected: falsified reports, kickbacks, even threats documented in old emails. Karen resigned in disgrace before she could be voted out. Charges followed: embezzlement, fraud, obstruction. Last I heard, she was negotiating a plea while her perfect reputation lay in ruins. The neighborhood changed too. They rewrote the bylaws with actual transparency. New leadership opened the books. The lake is still beautiful. But now the rules serve the people instead of one woman's ego. 6 months later I sat on my dock, the legal one I finally built, watching the sun set over water that was finally quietly mine. Kids laughed farther down the shore where new community access had been properly permitted. No more fear. No more Karen. Sometimes the most dangerous tyrants wear cardigans and talk about community values. They don't need armies, just enough fear and enough paperwork to hide behind. But paper cuts both ways. When someone finally reads the fine print and refuses to blink, the whole house of cards comes down. And the view from the right side of the deed? Worth every single tense. Patient day. So tell me honestly in the comments, was Karen Ellison genuinely protecting the neighborhood? Or was she just another HOA Karen who got drunk on a little bit of power and forgot the difference between rules and rights? Who was really in the wrong here?